Rex, introduce yourself.
All right, well, I'm Rex Austin. I am the territory representative for Ambraco. Lucky enough to do business with you guys. This fellow here is Ron Amos. He is from Ottumwa, Iowa. And I'll just leave it there and you can tell him the rest.
I'm not going to stand up, thanks.
That's fine, you got it.
No, I'm Ron Amos. I worked at John Deere in Ottumwa for 36 years. Retired about 7 years ago now and worked for Ambraco. But I was around when we first kind of started with round balers at Ottumwa. Started off in the factory welding them together and doing all kinds of stuff like that. I must have been a horrible welder because I ended out here talking about them. So. My welding skills are pretty bad. But anyway, almost all my time at John Deere was spent in the field. So I did a lot of test work, a lot of marketing, demonstrating balers. And so anybody ever go down to Haymaster in Florida? Did you ever go to that?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, I thought some of you looked familiar a lot. So anyway, I was always down there, and that's the kind of thing I did all my time at John Deere. So anyway, after I retired, they said, well, let's go to work for Ambraco and we can do more of this stuff. So I've been doing mostly all their, like Rex is a salesman, I help sell a little bit in Iowa and Wisconsin, but just not very much, not like he does, but mostly all the experimental work. So they're always working on new stuff, new net. I've been working with the B-Rap. I was working with B-Rap at John Deere before I retired. And so that just kind of kept going after I retired. Actually, Ambraco and John Deere helps a lot, but Ambraco actually did pretty much all the testing of B-Rap the last 2 or 3 years on their own. But the SCEM, we're going to show you all this stuff, but the material, the B-Rap that keeps the water out, we've been working on that for over 15 years. So the idea of B-Rap has been around for 40 years, about putting something on a bale, keep the rain, snow, and ice out of it. But the technology to make something that would breathe, let the bale sweat, let that moisture get away, not let the rain and snow get back in, just wasn't there to make it. So it took us a long time to get there. And so now B-Rap's been out for 2 seasons now. And you got somebody that's running it and likes it. So we'll talk a lot about B-Rap in a minute. Well, let's do this first. This little video I want to show you right here. And alright, this is why you use B-Rap, okay? The color's a little goofy, but
Hi, I'm Ron Amos.
Well, thanks,
and some of you may recognize me from my days as a haymaster at John Deere Ottumwa. Recently, I've been working on B-Rap. It's a new way to wrap round bales. It protects hay from rain, snow, and ground moisture. You get barn quality hay without the barn. Now let me show you what the cows do. This is John Woodcock from Macon, Missouri. He was one of the first farmers to try B-Rap. Last winter, John did a test which I documented on my video camera. He unrolled 2 bales of hay side by side. One bale was wrapped.
we unrolled the net wrap bale first, and then come right back and
Both
unroll
bales
the
came
B-Rap
from the
bale.
same field, baled the same day, and both were stored outside for 6 months. That's net wrap hay there. All the cows choose to eat hay from the B-Rap bale. Some are coming back to try the net wrap hay. Nope, they'd rather fight it out for the hay protected by B-Rap. Amazing. Hay baled in the same field, same day, and both bales stored outdoors for 6 months. No doubt which hay the cows would want. Hay protected by B-Rap. And that's why I'm so excited about B-Rap, the alternative to indoor storage. And B-Rap works in any John Deere 7, 8, 9 series round baler equipped with net wrap. Contact your local John Deere dealer for more information on B-Rap.
Alright, so that's just a little video. What I want you to do is, on Ambraco.com, we've made a lot of videos, and we actually do them just like John Deere. You see John Deere approves it, and that's everything we do is approved by John Deere. Some of these are even on the John Deere website. But if anybody asks you about B-Rap, there's right there the cows eating the hay. Almost every place we've ever fed bales from B-Rap and compared to net wrap, it's just like that. The cows will just go to a B-Rap bale. As soon as they smell it, they're headed that direction. If you put bales in a ring feeder, side by side, a net wrap bale and a ring feeder with B-Rap over here, they'll walk right away from here and go over there and eat. Now, it's not always 100% of the cows, but it's always the majority. University of Wisconsin, I know we're in Michigan, you guys don't like Wisconsin, right? I don't either. But anyway, University of Wisconsin's worked with us with BRAP for a long time. And they just did a feeding trials study on feeding cows. And they did 10 studies. 5 were BRAP versus NetWrap stored outdoors. And the other 5 were BRAP stored outdoors and NetWrap stored indoors. And all the outdoor trials, there was no comparison. The cows actually ate twice as much hay out of a BRAP bale as they did a NetWrap bale. Okay? And they preferred the NetWrap or the BRAP first. Always would go to BRAP. The indoor, BRAP actually beat 3 of the indoor trials. Cows ate more hay from a BRAP bale. And they didn't really have a good reason for that. You know, indoor hay should be pretty good. Other than maybe the hay was just better in those bales that they used. You know, better quality hay. Or the other thing they thought of was, you know, when you put bales in a barn, if they have some moisture content and they're sweating, you don't have good ventilation in the barn, they will get some white mold on them. And so they thought maybe they were a little moldy and the cows didn't like it as good. They get that damp, musty, moldy smell, and that's what turns the cow off. So anyway, the idea of BRAP is to eliminate that waste. And if customers would ever really figure out how much hay they're losing on every single round bale that they make and store outdoors, they'd probably be like your guys, they'd be chopping.
Yeah.
That's why those guys chop, okay? They're not wasting much hay when they chop. Or you build a barn to put your bales in. But in the Midwest, for us guys, it's not uncommon to get this damp, musty, moldy smelling. It's not black, rotten, slimy hay, but it's just this damp, musty, moldy smelling hay. It's not uncommon to get that down into a NetWrap bale 3, 4, 5, 6 inches deep over this feeding season. Now, from the time I baled it to the time I'm using it. That's what the cows waste. If you put it in a ring feeder, they come up to the ring feeder and they rub their heads up and down and throw all that hay off the outside. They're getting rid of that crappy smelling stuff. Or if they'll come in from the ends, you know, and eat the middle out first.
Well,
That's because that's where the good smelling hay is. That's what they want to eat. So the idea of BRAP is to cut that 6 inches of waste down, or whatever the number it is, for you where you live, to basically nothing. And BRAP will keep that bale for 18 months, pretty much like the day you baled it up. But it's stored outside, okay? You don't have to have a barn. So it kind of gives you barn quality hay without the barn, okay? It's not perfect, because you're still outdoors in the rain, but it's a heck of a lot better than a NetWrap bale. Okay, a NetWrap bale was a heck of a lot better than a twine bale. The BRAP is just that much better than the net again.
and what's the price difference between?
Well, a little bit depends on how you guys price it, but there is a suggested list price for BRAP. So on a 4-foot baler, it figures out it's about, I don't know, what is it, Rex, $6.50 a bale?
$6 to $7.
Something like that. And then on the 5-foot wide balers, it's about $8 a bale.
Because, you know, we got a few that, you know, bail and they're net wrap and they just bitch about the net wrap,
Yeah,
you know,
well,
Why?
price. But they still
how much
buy
you guys
it.
charging for net wrap? Okay. No, here, net wrap, and I should have started this way instead of giving you the number first, but for most of us, putting 2 wraps of net on a hay bale, kind of a national average we use is about $1.35 to $2 per bale. All depends on how they buy their net, okay? So if it costs you $6.50 for BRAP, it's only $4.50 more to protect that bale.
Yeah.
If you figure what 6 inches is around the outside diameter of that bale, how much hay that is, it's about 33% of that bale's weight.
Okay.
So if I'm making a 1,500 pound bale, or 1,200 pound bale, something, and I'm losing a third of it, 1,200 pounds, that's 400 pounds of hay.
Yeah.
Every bale that I go to feed a cow, I could lose up to 400% or 400 pounds. So you're really baling 4 bales to feed 3. So every 4th bale that guy makes, you might as well just take and throw in a ditch.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you put BRAP on, that 4th bale is still my bale. That's the idea. So people, most of us, we have enough hay. We actually have extra hay. So it doesn't bother people to bale more hay than they need. But really, if you figure out how much money that cost you, you would figure out to do something different.
Yeah.
You know, you bale 1,000 bales to feed 750 of them.
Yeah.
So,
There, Ron.
yes. Oh, yeah. Tell them about the one we had the other day.
Oh,
I thought that's what you wanted to go to.
I can go to that, but since I'm on the sales side of this, I wanted to ask, how many of you guys are involved in selling? We got counter people here, we got outside sales people. Those are your techs, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring up real briefly about the sales side of this. And I think you guys are participating in it to some extent, because I don't know for sure how much of it this net wrap is pre-sold. I don't know how much you're familiar with our program, but our net wrap program basically is, we want it sold. We want you all to sell that net wrap in November and December. And by doing that, you guys buy it at the least amount of cost. Plus, Ambraco then sends a rebate check back to those customers that buy that net wrap from you guys in November and December. We give them $25 for the first roll of cover edge, and then $10 for every other roll. And we send that directly from Ambraco as a rebate check. So that comes off their cost if they participate in that early buy. It's very important that we try to get as many people involved in that pre-buy at the end of the year, because that lowers their cost, it lowers your cost, and it works better for everybody. And I don't know how much that's being done, but I wanted to bring that up. Now, switching gears. Monday, we were down in Northwest Ohio, and we did a similar program what we're doing today. And one of the people there brought in a B-wrap bale of hay that was 2 years old and sat it inside the barn where we were working, and it was pretty amazing. You could go inside that bale, lift up the SCM, pull out a little bit of it and smell it. It smelled just like it did the day it was baled. And it's been sitting outside for 2 years. And they were very happy with it.
It was a perfect bale. You would think it had been, you baled it last month.
The ends turned brown.
Yes, a little bit of discoloration on the
How
sides.
much do you lose from the end?
Not much.
Because, you know, he was saying like a third all the way around
Yeah.
with like the net wrap. So are you losing that much?
No.
No, and it did not have a bad smell to it. The edges, it did not smell bad. It was a little discolored.
This, I just wish, the color's not very good here,
Right.
but that's a cornstalk bale. Now, we've had the wettest winter on record in Iowa. It hasn't been snow, it's all been rain. I don't know if November, December, we were flooded, just like in the spring. The Mississippi River was starting to flood all over, and we've had like 70 inches of rain last year. Normally it's 34 or 5. So it's almost double a normal year. So these bales these are only 6-8 months old. You see the black layer around the outside of that? There's other pictures here where I dug it. Now I just took these because the guy had them set by B-wrap. So, but I started digging into them, and that bale looks like that, maybe a foot deep into that bale. Okay, it's just nothing. I mean, if I use that for bedding, that part is no good. I have to get that off, especially you guys in the dairy business, because that wet bedding causes a lot of problems with the dairy cows, so I can't use it. So if you would calculate, this guy's probably using maybe half of this bale. The other half is just garbage that I gotta get rid of. So if I could put B-wrap on that, I'm gonna eliminate that to basically nothing. So the thing about B-wrap and the cost that you gotta figure out is we don't expect people to use B-wrap on every single bale. Okay? Cost me $4.50 more per bale. B-wrap is to be used in addition to net wrap. So say this guy's a dairy farmer and he bales 1,000 cornstalk bales a year for bedding. Okay? The stocks that he's going to use in November, December, maybe January, he puts net wrap on. The stuff he uses from January till next fall, maybe he puts B-wrap on. Because up here, it gets really cold. All of that turns to ice. And now that bale is just a block of ice. Okay? So he goes to unroll the bale or runs it in a processor. You can't hardly do it because it's just big chunks of ice. So with the B-wrap, that won't be a big chunk of ice. You cut the B-wrap off, there's no water down in the bale, that bale almost blows up on its own. So I see B-wrap being used up northern climates more to keep crop from freezing up like this so I can use it. Does that make sense? The moisture is what gets you in trouble. Not only the amount of hay I'm losing, but now to use this bale, it takes me a certain amount of time to get the wet stuff off, get the net off, and then use the dry stuff. And with the B-Wrap, that certain amount of time went from this much time down to this much time. So I'm not standing around working on bales of hay too much or bedding, okay? I'm just showing you this so you kind of see. This is not a single pass. We were talking about a single pass. Can you see all those corn cobs in there? If you see you can see my computer, you see them all in there. Yeah. This is a guy that drops them out, the corn or the residue, into a row behind the combine and bales it up. This bale is just loaded with cobs. The ethanol plant's like the cobs, so that's you can't see in that picture very good. But I just want to show you this color is going to get you a little bit of trouble. These bales are actually, they weren't baled this fall, they were baled last fall, not 2016, but 2015. So they're 18, 19 months old. And it's not peanut hay, it's bean stubble. Okay, so let me get back here.
Did you have some, a picture of the hay? Didn't you say the pictures you showed us with the net wrap
Uh-huh.
was next to the ones with the,
With the B-Wrap?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, here,
Were those with corn too, or?
no, this is the
The
bean
soybeans.
stubbles. Yeah, I can show you some of that though. But this now looks a little more green up there than it does here, right? A bean stubble's not very green when we bale it up most of the time, but it's kind of brown. But this bale right there is, like I said, it's 18, 19 months old. Been through all of this weather, and that is just as dry. You can see in this picture here. It's just as dry. There's absolutely no waste, no mold, nothing on that bale. And this guy couldn't hardly believe it when we started doing this. He was just totally shocked. Okay, now see they leave a little dead airspace between the bales. This is your question. See how that end is discolored? All right, the ends will get discolored for sure. But when it's raining today, that end of that bale gets wet. But when the sun and wind start going tomorrow, that end dries out. We've done a lot of studying on this at John Deere, but when this on the end like that, moisture doesn't wick in this way. It doesn't move very far this way, but it moves in the bale this way, up and down, tremendously. So yes, this end will be discolored, but if you took your hand out there and just rubbed up and down the end of that bale, had red gloves on, that would look just like that, just as soon as you start breaking that off.
So you don't want them tight together then?
Well, this is kind of a debate. You guys are probably where the debate starts. One of the things we've been studying is store bales. If you leave a dead airspace between them, that gets wet today, but it dries out tomorrow. So you don't get as much white mold on the face of the bales, but people try to butt them up really tight, try to keep that water out, but if that water does get down between them, it stays wet forever, and then you'll get that white mold on the face of the bale. So we've actually found with B-Wrap and net wrap too, it's better to leave a dead airspace, except for some places where it snows a hell of a lot. Because then the snow will pile, sometimes, I don't know if you get this much snow here or not, but we do in Iowa, sometimes you can't even see that bale hardly. It's just a bump in the snow. The snow will pile up, clear up around it. The wind blows it around, drifts it by them. So if you get a lot of snow in between the bales, about this time of year where it gets 50 degrees one day and then freezes the next, that snow's freezing and thawing all day long. It takes a couple weeks for it to melt out of there, so that end of that bale stays really wet. So if you got a lot of snow and you think that thawing gets, butt them together. But that's about the only place. Everywhere else I'd leave them, you don't have to have a lot of space, just enough for air to move. And don't let two rows touch together. Like I had another row running down that. Every place bales touch, they're gonna hold moisture, even with B-Wrap. Okay, you can't get rid of it. So they just hold that moisture there, and then you'll have a wet spot on the bales.
People that triangle them up.
We run into this every day this week, and I can tell you, I wouldn't do that. I know everybody's trying to save space and everything's handy right here, but they are getting so much moisture in the bales that most of them will tell you it's not any good. I just do it to save space. Yeah, yesterday told us that. He said, well, it sucks doing it, but I just do it because I don't want to take up space. Well, as long as you got extra hay, that's all good. But if you don't have extra hay and the cows are wasting a lot of it, you better figure out something else to do. Putting them in rows is a lot better than pyramid. Everybody goes on vacation out to North, South Dakota, Montana, you know, about the Great Glacier National Park or something. And they see all these farms, these miles of bales piled up in pyramids like that. What's the difference? It doesn't rain out there. It rains here. And rain gets the bales wet. And they're like, we did a study one time, the engineer just took sponges, put them all down in a bucket of water, took them out of the bucket of water. You push 2 of them, 3 of them together real tight like this, and you pile 3 or 4 on top of each other. He said that bale is just like a sponge. Nope, same thing. All right, so after these sponges sit there a while, the outside of them's all dried off, but where 2 of them are touching, you pull them apart, the sponge is still wet. And that's, a bale is the same way. So if you get dead airspace around them, I think you're a lot better off.
Plus your rows, if you keep them north and south also versus east and west, that
You
makes
bet.
a big difference.
Both sides
too.
get sunlight.
Right.
That's the key. And don't store them under a tree line.
No,
You
fence
see these
rows,
guys that
that's-
put all their bales under the trees, that's the worst place to put them. You think it's gonna keep the rain off, but once, you know, the trees are leafed out and it's raining, they get wet, they're wet forever.
mushrooms grow.
Yeah, that's right, mushrooms start growing, that's right. If you're baling wheat straw or wheat hay, then the wheat starts growing out of the bales. So north and south is a great way to do it compared to east and west, so you do that. Leave them in rows. One of the things I'll tell you that makes a heck of a difference is your storage area ought to be kind of a slope or a hillside, so water's always running away from the bales. If you put them out in a mud hole, even with B-wrap on them, the bottoms are going to get wet, really wet. So we get, now that depends on people, but there are guys that have gravel beds, stone, like river stone, 2-inch rock, that they lay out, put bales on that. That's awesome. The bottoms with B-wrap won't even get wet. B-wrap is almost perfect, I said a while ago. It'll still take on a little moisture, and the bottoms for most of us will still get a little layer of wet hay on the bottom. Can't breathe, it's on the ground. So it's going to get a little bit wet on the bottom. But not like a net wrap bale. But the guy, don't be surprised if you pick up a bale someday and they cut it off and the bottom's got low. Right where it's set on the ground, there's a little brown, wet layer of hay. It might be a 1/2 inch thick or something, but it'll be there. But the rest of it will look pretty much.
So like in the winter, that, it won't freeze in?
Not if you store it where it's really wet, yeah, where ice can build up like there's moisture. But if it's not, no, they won't freeze the ground. The other thing in the snow and ice, this is probably why people like it as much as anything. The net or the material doesn't freeze into the bale because the bale's not wet.
And
So
can
you just cut it and it just
pull
peels right off. I'm going to show you a video right now. This kid's from Minnesota, and this is not an official video yet, okay? But it will be. But the guy just sent it to me the other day, the photographer. So this kid, I like him because he did all this on his own, basically. But he's a dairy farmer, does corn stalks for bedding, and he'll tell you in a minute, but his whole thing was he's struggling with his bales being frozen in the wintertime. So after several years of fighting this, and you'll see in the pictures here in a minute, but it just wastes time. It takes too much time for him to do it. He actually has 2 guys helping him all the time. And so he went to the dealership one day, he's buying something else, started complaining to everybody about these damn bales being frozen solid, you can't bust them up. And the parts guy had been to the parts expo, parts manager, and he came over and talked to us about B-wrap and didn't pay, no big deal. And so this kid said, God dang, there's got to be something other than having another barn. He stores a lot in barns, but he said, I don't have enough room. There's got to be something to do, something I can do to keep this moisture out. And he's even tried putting silage film on him. He'll tell you that. The parts guy heard him talking to whoever he was kind of complaining about. And he said, well, we got this new stuff, this B-wrap. He said, I don't know anything about it. Don't know what it does, how it works, anything. But he says, it's supposed to keep the water out of the bale. So between the two of them, they decided they'd try a roll or two, and anyway, this is this kid's story, so. But no, you know, if he had went in there and complained, he'd still be mad. He's really a nice young guy. So anyway, we went out and made a video, and so we showed it to him yesterday. Two guys said, mine's the same way, they might be that way on the top.
Well, our family operation
So,
began in
it's pretty
1981.
good.
My father and my mother started the operation, and then in 2005 we added.
He processes some bales like that, and then he
another 100
unrolls.
cows. We're at about 350 right now. And in 2009 we also added a calf facility to raise our own calves.
See how happy they are in that bedding?
Stock, and prior to that they were all custom raised. The round bales in our operation are primarily corn stock fodder bales that we use for bedding of our livestock. Well, the first thing that really brought us to the B-Wrap is for a number of years I was really tired of dealing with the frozen corn stock bales, the frozen net wrap. I'm a firm believer in let's get the net wrap off the bales, let's get a good quality bale from top to bottom. So then for a couple of years we were trying to, we would tube line wrap the bales. We would also, I tried piling bales in a pyramid, covering them with bunker plastic. The challenge was it was a lot of labor to do it. And then the bales, especially the bales that were tube line wrapped, in the plastic form, they could not breathe. And when you have weather changes, the condensation would cause a snotty layer all the way around the outside of the bale. And when we decided to strike upon the B-Wrap route, I talked to the local dealership, and he said, is there anything that we can do? And they said, yeah, actually, we've got this new thing coming out, this B-Wrap, just getting it on a few balers, let's put it on your baler and try it. And ever since then, have had excellent luck. Clean corn stalks from top to bottom, year round, beautiful bales. The breathing is important, and I think that's one thing with B-Wrap is the bales are allowed to breathe when temperature changes, humidity levels change, et cetera, they can breathe. A B-Wrap bale can be set anywhere and breathe just fine. In the wintertime, you deal with net wrap being frozen to the bale, and the bale having a 6-inch or 3 to 6 inch crust of frozen net wrap and corn stalks. That's essentially a waste. That's not a fluffy bedding. Traditionally, a wrapped bale, you start with a 5x6 bale, and you end up with a 5x5 bale when you're all said and done because you lose 6 inches all the way around the bale, and that adds up over time. With the B-Wrap, in the middle of winter, it'll be perfect. You cut it, and the whole thing, the snow, the ice, anything comes right off. One thing I like in a calf facility, or even in a maternity facility, is what they call a nesting score. And if you get good fluffy bedding, they tuck right down in there and they stay drier longer. The best thing about B-Wrap so far for us is the product is easy to work with. The bales are always perfect all the time, every time. And from top to bottom, the bale spreads out nice and easy and dry. Obviously, the challenge on a farm is to estimate how many bales you need annually, depending on what kind of year you're going to have. If you need more bedding, less bedding. If it's wetter out, you'll bed more often. So then, one nice thing with the B-Wrap bales is if I make too many bales one year, they will carry into the next season very, very well, and they are kept. They look like they're just as good as the day you baled them. B-Wrap, it doesn't matter what the weather is outside. Slice the wrap and it falls right off, and in a matter of seconds you're on to the next thing.
Gotta have B-Wrap, don't we? Got two guys yesterday said, well, that's our problem, we'll take it. So they ordered some B-Wrap, but it didn't really show it in there. I thought it showed it a little better, but he has two hired guys when he's unrolling those bales like that in the barns. That when the bale's frozen, they stand there with pitchforks and the big wet globs. Then they throw it clear out to the side and just get it out of the barn. So when he just drove that machine to skid steer back and forth, they were done. And he said that changes an hour job to a 30-second job. We can go on and do something more important than scattered bed. So that's what was a big deal to him. Okay. All right, one more video and then we're gonna go to work. The next video I want to show you is probably our #1 issue with net wrap in North America. Okay? Why people think they got cheap net or something's wrong with their net wrap. Most people don't put enough wraps on a bale. Okay, and on the sleeve of the net wrap roll, there's a little yellow sticker. Anybody know how many layers of net we recommend for a hay bale? Grass hay or alfalfa?
2.5.
2, at least 2. Okay, I'll tell you about half in a minute. At least 2. For straw, how many do we recommend? At least 3. Do you have anybody bale straw?
Sounds
A
few.
little bit. Straw is the hardest crop to bale there is. And I tell you, you want at least 3 on a straw bale. And probably today, 4 is better than 3. Because if you think back a little bit, not too many years ago, all the combines, or the majority of the combines running in the country, were Walker combines, and the residue was about this long. And yeah, and it actually, the length helped hold the bale together. Okay, so I put the net on, everything was pretty good. Well, most of the combines aren't Walkers today. And just like you said, the straw went from this to this. And that short straw is really hard to bale, and it's really hard to hold together. And that spec that says at least 3 wraps for corn or for straw, that was written back in the 80s. And no one ever did change it. But if you know the customer's got a rotary combine, and he has some problems with straw bales breaking open, I'd go to 4 wraps. It don't matter if you're using John Deere net or Chinese net, I'd go to 4 wraps. Because it will hold those straw bales a lot better together. And it's more because of the combine than anything else. But no one's ever told anybody that. In the deep south, we're in the south a lot. We get a lot of trouble with straw bales blowing open in the south. And it's basically because of the sun and the heat that's hard on the net. And so that's kind of a big deal down there. And so we finally got most people convinced, just to crop these 4. Sometimes it's really hard for you guys to tell somebody how many layers of net they should put on because they've been baling 40 years and my God, I know more than you. And I've been using 1.5 or some number and I get along fine. But when he has a problem, they always blame it on the net. You guys sold me cheap net. Look at this net's falling apart. And I tell you, most of the time John Deere net is not cheap net. Very rarely do you have problems with John Deere net wrap. Okay? Things can happen, but it's very minute. So the odds of you getting to this guy a whole pallet of junk net, I'm going to tell you, is absolutely slim and none. Okay, he might get 1 roll that may give you some trouble, but I doubt that even happens. Okay, so this video right here is a number of wraps video. It's on Ambraco.com too, under the net wrap. But this kind of shows you all the things that affect the number of wraps that are going on a bale. And when it's an old guy and you're trying to say you need to put 2 or 3 or 4, whatever, you can kind of show him this, and maybe it'll make sense to him. Okay, so this is not very long either. It won't take but a minute, and we'll be out of here. 5
Hello,
minutes.
I'm Ron Amos with Ambraco, the distributor of John
I'm
Deere
already
net.
started everyone different.
And to most people, these 3 bales look alike. For those people that know baling, they can spot the difference right away between hay, straw, and stover. Unfortunately, many growers who know the difference between hay, straw, and stover treat these crops the same when it comes to wrapping bales. The results of that mistake can be
You ever see
disastrous.
bales that look like that?
So
out in the
today,
field?
I'd like to share some ways to make and store better round bales, regardless of the crop you're baling or the brand of baler you're using. First, let's review why bale shape is so important. A solid cylinder-shaped bale with uniform density will shed moisture better, giving you better crop protection. Bales that are straight across the top
Florida bale, right? Tight, dense, firm bale. This is the key to a round baler. This is what John Deere balers do better than any other brand. See where my hand is from the core all the way out to the outside edges? A John Deere baler makes a tight, dense, firm, round bale. Okay? It stands up and stays round. The better that bale stays round in outdoor storage, the better it's going to shed water. Whether it's net wrap, twine, or B wrap. So one of the things I'm going to spend a lot of time today talking to you about is how the net wrap works, and we want the customer to make bales that look like that. It makes everything work better, okay? Does everybody's bales here look like that? Yes.
I found out the faster you go, the better your windrow, the stuffer right in there, the tighter that bale is.
The better you make the windrow is the key,
Or
okay?
if the guy don't, just go faster.
Yeah.
So
And
the guy do that.
the newer balers help you do that a lot. But the key to it, and this, we're not gonna spend time out here doing this, we can do it right here. The windrow for your round baler should either be the same width as the bale chamber itself. So if I got a 4-foot baler, I can rake 2 windrows together, and I gotta make them 4 foot wide, okay? But it's gotta be raked like a box almost, okay? It's gotta be kind of sharp shoulders and flat across the top. If I make it 4 foot wide and drive right down the middle, it's a big old wad of hay in the middle and nothing on the ends, my bale's gonna look like a whiskey barrel, okay? And if I drive right down the middle of it, there's nothing I can do about it. There's a guy on the hay rake made my bale.
They get scared when the windrow's this tall, because I had a guy baling and he had come to this great big one and he hemmed on the brakes and slowed down. I said, next time you come to them, you stop, I'm getting out. He said,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I said, don't slow this thing down.
That's right.
He said, you're gonna unplug it. I said, I'll unplug it.
Yeah.
We whipped through that. He said, holy cow, I didn't think you'd take that.
Yeah, with the roller baffle, since
the
the H
roller
series
baffle
balers,
pushes
that
it down.
black pipe in the front, makes everything altogether different. If the guy makes me that kind of windrow and I'm driving down the middle and the barrels are barrel shaped, sometimes it's like you said, if you go a little faster and slow down your engine RPM, so instead of running rated PTO speed, I'll be running 1800 or something, and shift up. That pickup today will help push hay to the outside edges and make a better bale for you, okay? But that's the bale we want people to make. That's why a guy bought a John Deere baler. If they don't make that bale, they're kind of mad at us. They think something's wrong with their baler. But it could be as simple as that windrow. The windrow either needs half width of the bale chamber or full width, okay? Nothing else. So if it's 4 foot wide, it needs to be 4 foot wide or 2 feet or less. It can be less, but the minimum is 2 foot wide, okay? And the better the guy on the hay rake rakes, the better my job is as a baler guy, okay? But it affects net wrap, affects twine, affects everything.
Giving you better crop protection. Bales that are straight across the top also store and transport better. Plus, there's uniform pressure on the net across the bale. To make a uniform bale, follow directions.
These 2 pages have been in an operator's manual since 1972.
Barrel-shaped bales are an issue because they put
Nobody pays any attention to them today. You used to, but you couldn't make a bale if you didn't. But the balers are so much better today, people forget about those details.
Be sure
Just
to
tells you how to
set
make a
the
bale,
tractor's
make a
hydraulic
windrow.
to the recommended 5 seconds for the gate opening. This will allow the bale to gently roll out of the bale chamber and not damage the net. Now let's discuss the number of wraps needed on a round bale. Think of the crop inside the bale like a spring pushing out against the net. Different types of crops exert different spring pressures. Grass or alfalfa used for hay or silage exerts the least spring pressure. 2 complete wraps of net are generally enough to hold grass or alfalfa hay bale together during storage. Straw or hay made from cereal grains exerts substantially more spring pressure. The drier the straw and the shorter the straw, the more spring pressure pushing out against the net. That's why straw bales or cereal grains made into hay need at least 3 wraps of net.
Did you make all those?
Tough, coarse, heavy
You see there was one two-wrap bale right out in the middle.
Sudacs or mild
Good looking
need
bales.
even more net to securely hold bales together. We recommend at least 4 wraps of net for corn silage.
That's kind of slow motion.
So, to review, at least 2 wraps of net for hay, 3 wraps for straw, and 4 wraps for store and other coarse crops. These are minimum recommendations. If you store bales outdoors for more than a year, you may want to add an additional wrap. To change the number of wraps on a bale, simply change the setting on your baler's monitor. After you have set your monitor,
This is the part nobody does right
get
here.
off the tractor and confirm that the correct number of wraps are actually going onto the bale. Make sure the wrap goes completely around the bale and overlaps the starting point by 1.5 to 2 feet. Applying an extra half wrap of net is really a waste. There are several reasons why your monitor.
You see that? Okay, you always want to go past where the net started on the bale. That's 1 full wrap, all the way around again, and then 1 or 2 feet more. That's 2 full wraps. So if I'm putting 2.5 on, this extra 10 foot that's going around here, or some number of feet, is really not doing anything. So that 10 feet of net I just put on there, we just wasted. So if I'm already putting 10 feet on, add 10 more feet and go back to the start point, and now I got a bale that's gonna stay together. That half wrap's just costing you money, so just add a few more pennies and put another wrap on. I'm really, over the years, I don't know if this means anything to you or not, but when net wrap first come out, the bales didn't put as much density. The bales didn't weigh as much. We advertised an 1,800 pound bale. So over the years, now we advertise a 2,200 pound bale in a 5x6 baler. Okay? There's more pressure on the bale. There's more hay is packed in the same package. And I'm still telling you to put 2 wraps of net on a bale, or 3 or 4. And sometimes that just isn't enough in some crops. Okay? But just that half a wrap is just kind of it's just 10 foot of net hanging out there. So you might as well just add 10 feet more to it or whatever it is and make the bale.
They may not
That's
apply
why
enough now.
that's too
With
hard,
baling
too
at
bad.
less than rated PTO speed, some monitors will not accurately display the amount of net going on the bale. For example, older John Deere balers without a speed compensation kit will apply less net when the operator reduces the PTO speed. Check the number of wraps chart in your baler operator's manual to see how PTO speed will impact the amount of net applied. Then set the monitor accordingly. Number of wraps may also be wrong because the monitor may not accurately show the true bale diameter. Oversized bales not only get less net than the monitor shows, they also can damage your baler. Check your baler's operator's manual under Adjust Bale Diameter Sensor for the steps needed to get the monitor to display the actual bale size.
Here's how most net wrap gets damaged.
Having the correct number of wraps on a bale won't do you much good if poor handling practices damage the net. Bales that are skidded along the ground or onto bale movers will have weakened or torn net. Drive slowly into the bale and then lift the bale high enough to clear the ground during transport. Net can also be damaged before it ever gets in your bale. Keep rolls of net stored indoors and in their original package. Keep rolls away from agricultural chemicals. And use care during transport. Bouncing around in the back of a pickup is a good way to damage net before it ever gets to your bale. Let's review those recommended minimums one more time. Hay, at least 2 wraps. Straw, at least 3 wraps. Stover, at least 4 wraps. I hope you found these baling and wrapping tips helpful. By choosing John Deere net, you've selected the highest quality net wrap on the market. Make the most of that investment by reading the operator's manual, paying special attention to the baling and wrapping recommendations. You can get more information on John Deere net wrap by visiting.
Okay, so did you see a couple things in there? Bale size, calibration on the baler can affect the number of wraps on the bale. What engine RPM I'm running my tractor on older balers can affect the number of wraps on the bale. So guys will set their monitor at 2 or 3, whatever they're baling, and then they might be baling at 1,500 engine RPM, okay? Or their bale size calibration is way off, and so they're really only ending up with like 2 wraps or 2.5 wraps on a bale, and then the bale blows up. And all he knows is he's got cheap net, because the net's breaking. So when one of us guys come out, either through DTAC at a time or one of us Ambraco guys, and we go out and start looking at the bales, well, they all only have 2 wraps on them. You're baling a crop that requires 3 wraps. Well, my monitor's on 3. Well, there are things that affect it, and that's what we all got to make sure that we kind of know what's affecting it and the adjustments to it. I'll tell you the truth, probably 90% of those things I've ever done through John Deere or Ambraco, guys don't have enough net on the bale. They think they do, but they don't. I'll tell you this, you have girls in parts, one thing that Ambraco does, even though the guy doesn't have enough wrap on it, and he says, well, I got 50 broken bales, I'd like a whole new roll of net wrap. We'll give him a whole new roll of net wrap, even though he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. We're good to work with on warranty, okay? We don't, we'll send you a note and say, you know, it'd been better if you put 3 wraps on, he doesn't have the recommended minimum on there. But if you gave him a roll of net because he had trouble, we'll give you credit for that roll of net, okay? We want you to tell him that he needs to go to 3, but we've never not just left somebody hanging out in the wind. Ambraco's really, really good at that. Sometimes we give a roll of net or 2 to a guy, that most companies wouldn't even talk to him about because he doesn't have enough net on it. So when you guys go to the field and you're setting up a new baler and you got it set for 2 wraps, it'd be nice if somebody get off and count that and make sure you got 2 full wraps. It gets us in more trouble than anything else. And nobody ever blames the baler, it's always the net. Okay? And that's been that way forever. With twine balers, it was always the twine. Okay? It wasn't the baler, it was always the twine. So, and the baler, there's a lot of things that affect how that net goes on that bale. Okay?
Talking about net wrap, Ron, how many 100,000 rolls do we sell a year?
Several 100,000.
Just in North America?
Probably 400,000, roughly.
Okay. As a company, the people that make this net wrap is Tama. Tama is who makes that net wrap. They are the largest producer of net wrap in the world. They have about 60% of the world market in net wrap. And there's a lot of companies out there that make net wrap. So out of that 300,000 or 400,000 rolls of net wrap that we sell in North America, less than 0.1% do we ever have any problems with or reported problems on. And every time there's a problem with a roll of net wrap, we always request that we get the core ID number from you guys. Usually they'll call me, Fred will call me and say, hey, we got a bad roll of net wrap. So we do a report. And then we fill out that report, and then we always have that roll of net wrap sent back to Ambraco. We've got a guy that works with us, lives out with Ron, his name's Larry Rose. And every one of those rolls goes back to his place and he examines them. So we have the best quality control probably of anybody in the industry as far as keeping track of what happens and problems with net wrap. And most of the rolls that are returned, we don't find anything wrong with them. It's usually something, truthfully, it's usually something to do with the baler, or as Ron said, most often they don't put another net wrap. But you guys are selling really the world's best net wrap. And you don't, they don't like that price, do they? But they keep coming back because they know they can go down the street and buy that cheap net wrap. But they'll pay the difference for good net wrap because they long forget about that savings when they got a problem. So you don't ever have to apologize about what you're doing with your net wrap because it's absolutely the best and it's designed to work in those John Deere balers. And as an added bonus, it'll work in almost everyone else's balers. And we make that possible by the way we put our cords together. And we'll get into that when we get out there.
There's, if you guys get a roll of net returned, and like Rex was talking about, we ask you to send the roll back to us. That brings the roll net, we'll send you a label and you ship it back to us. And every single roll gets looked at. But that's kind of that situation report, that just happens to be a B-wrap. But it's got like the customer's name, all of the, can't read all the print down there, but that's was what his issue was or what you said was wrong with the net, blah, 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 we keep track of all that. Then we look at every single roll. You ship it back, we pull the net off. Larry Rose does 90% of the twine or net wrap. I do the B wrap, but we'll look at every piece of that. And of that 1/10 of 1% he's talking about, I'd say 75% of those are not even bad rolls. We give all the rolls to local farmers, and they just put them in their baler and run. So there's some things I'll try to show you when we get out here that a customer thinks something's wrong with his roll. He takes it out, puts another roll in, sees it work, but the roll he took out, there was something this goofy with. When you get a bad roll of net, you'll know you got a bad roll of net. It's really easy to see, okay? And other than that, there probably aren't bad rolls of net. Rex was, the quality control at Tama is just exactly how we used to do it at John Deere. Okay? At John Deere, we used to manufacture it in Tumble, Iowa. We manufactured it hardware even. We made every nut and bolt that went on a baler or a mower conditioner. We didn't cast the castings. We didn't have a foundry. But we made every gear, everything that went in, every baler. And you hear all the politicians talking about bringing jobs back. All those jobs were outsourced. When I started in John Deere Tumble Works, there's 2,300 people work there. Today there's probably 700. It's a more of an assembly plant today. All those parts are made somewhere else. But in the old days, there was a department called metallurgy, a bunch of engineers, and every single part we made, like hardware, they'd take every nut and bolt, and they'd someday during the week, they would, that's right, they check the steel it was made out of, they check the thread count, they do everything. And if something was wrong, they'd stop right now and correct it. As a welder welding the baler frames together, they would come right down the line and just pick up a frame on Monday afternoon.
X-ray it or?
X-ray it, cut it in pieces, pin it to see how your weld penetration was. They would count every weld on a round baler in the back gate. There's about, I used to know the number, I don't anymore. There's a lot of welds. They count every one of them, make sure you didn't miss one. They measure them to make sure they're the right length. Your name is stamped in there. So they know if something is wrong, they need to come to you to see what you're doing. They can even tell if you turn the welder up a little bit so you can go a little faster to make a little money. They can tell by the penetration of the weld. So that's quality. Okay, that's what made John Deere, in my opinion, over my lifetime of John Deere. Tama does that the same way with the net wrap. When you give us that core number, they can go right to that core number. They can go to the day it was made, the machine it was made, the shift it was made on, and they can go back to the resin, the little ball of plastic that got melted to make the net. They can go clear back there and check the specs even on the resin. They keep samples daily of every batch of net that's being made. And so if you give me that and you say the guys had to be all blew up, the net just fell apart. So we can go out to this guy's place with you, we'll take a sample of the net, we can send that back to Tama, they go right to a file cabinet, pull out this drawer, and they can take a sample of the very batch of net that net was made from, run the specs on it again, and then check the net that we sent in, and they can tell us in 2 minutes if that net was good, bad, whatever. You know, it's like somehow maybe a bad roll got out. Well, sometimes they come back.
Would it be just like a roll or, I mean?
Yeah, if you see a bad roll, I'll show you out there when you look. But a bad roll of net is basically, you know how the cardboard tube sticks out, or the plastic sticks out about a quarter of an inch past the net? A bad roll of net that you'll probably see someday is the net actually sticks out past the cardboard. The cardboard tube is inside and the net's out wider. And that'll rub against the side sheets of the net wrap unit in the baler and melt the cover edge part of the net, so it doesn't work. So if you ever see one of those, that's a bad roll of net. No one will, if you sent a picture to us and said this is how it looked, no, they'll probably have it in the back and take it from the ditch. You know. The other one is, when I show you the net, it'll just make more sense to you. But you know, when it's all, I don't know, have you ever been to like a cotton mill or seen an old movie when they're weaving things together?
No.
If you go to the Tama factory, there's miles and miles and miles of plastic strings running everywhere you look. It's pretty neat, really. And I don't know how they even keep track of one string. Because it may start clear over, you know, down here at the end of this building. By the time it's going down there, it's a different machine 300 yards away. And it's just string going everywhere. And the machines are probably about as big as this table, maybe. And, you know, there's 4 or 5 rolls of net on there. And it's knitting it all together and it's rolling up on the cardboard tube. So if one of those strings breaks, and the guy running this machine making 5 or 6 rolls at a time, if he doesn't catch it, so it just keeps going. The rolled net itself will look like it's made in 2 pieces. Or it looks like somebody took a saw blade and cut right around the roll. So it'll look like half the net's here, there's a little gap, and half the net here. As soon as you see it, that's a bad roll of net. And it shouldn't get here because they inspect it, but you know, stuff happens. So if you get a hold of that roll of net and start pulling net off, the net is actually coming off, it's like it's coming off in 2 pieces. There's some strings missing in here, so it comes off, and you see a big split all the way. If I put it in my baler, there's always a split on the baler.
Then it's gonna.
Yeah, the hay pops out the middle, and away you go. Those are the 2 most common things you'll see is a bad roll of net. And I can tell you, the switch missing, or the string missing, I've probably seen 5 of those since 1980. 88.
And generally, if you ever do see that, you really won't see it on the new roll, but it might have happened when they started off the core and it's inside that.
Yeah,
And
like
that's
100
why it
feet
gets
down
out, because
into
you
it
can't
or
see it.
Yeah.
But I've seen that before where a farmer will say, man, it's split.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what happens, we didn't catch it. or they didn't catch it.
What's the difference with other companies in their net wrap?
Let's go out to the baler,
Okay.
and then I'll show you how to roll net, and I'll make more sense to you.